Oh boy, look what time it is. It's time to review the anime from my winter 2024 contracts. Thanks to my wonderful contractor LucaHD, I'll be reviewing The 7 Deadly Sins and Violet Evergarden. Two very different anime, not only in genre, but quality. And this time around I thought it'd be a much cooler idea to do more of a commentary video than my regular boring, nerdy breakdowns of my reviews. And don't get me wrong, that's really cool and all, but after reading back through them and seeing what I definitely could have improved on, I just know that it looked more like an assignment for me than something that was supposed to be super fun and enjoyable. I straight up did a 10,000 word essay on Chainsaw Man, which is peak fiction by the way, but basically the whole time I was analyzing the manga without giving my actual thoughts. So this time around I thought, why not do something that's a little more my pace, and instead do something that's engaging for me too.
Are you crazy? Are you out of your mind?
Before I get started, I just want to give a quick little itty bitty shout out to the Anicord gods. Just want to say I appreciate you guys for putting so much effort in and making this an enjoyable experience to widen my and everyone else's anime and manga knowledge. And of course, before I start, a little warning about spoilers. If you haven't seen either of these anime and you don't want to get spoiled, there will be chapters in the description of the video. Now, to the good stuff. The 7 Deadly Sins was way longer than I expected it to be. Of course, to fulfill the contract, I'm supposed to do the bare minimum of just watching 25 episodes, but instead, I thought, why not go try hard and watch the entire series? So, did I do it? No.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Yeah, sorry, I know the suspense was probably crazy there, but I just couldn't do it. I just want to start by saying I have genuinely been super busy, and don't get me wrong, it's not like I didn't enjoy it. I just don't think I genuinely could have watched the entire thing, even if I did put all my time aside from work and school to finish it. And I don't want to watch just one anime. I want to do other stuff and hobbies that are just as fun. So I hope you understand. I won't go and throw it away to never watch it again. I will continue to watch it, just not with the stress of trying to do it under a timeline. So if you are interested in my ratings of the series, over time, my scores will be on my anime list as I continue to watch it. It's important to note that to this point for the review, I will have only covered the 2 seasons or 28 episodes of the 7 Deadly Sins. Honestly, I did not have high expectations whatsoever for the first season of The 7 Deadly Sins, but I have to say it definitely exceeded my expectations. It wasn't boring and there wasn't much filler, which I was expecting, but I think they did pretty good for how many characters were introduced. The soundtrack was awesome. I'm a big fan of Hiroyuki Sawano's work, from Attack on Titan to 86 to Kill la Kill to The 7 Deadly Sins. He just never misses, and the openings and endings were fire. The first opening has something so special to it, it just slaps, and it's a great introduction to this anime in my opinion. The second opening still slaps and isn't far behind the first. I think the only thing it's missing is possibly the opening animation. The first just has something so special to it that the others couldn't really recreate. And the first ending by Grand Rodeo is really good. Their openings, especially in Bungo Stray Dogs, always slap. If I say something is good, I mean it. I definitely didn't just say that line so I could show off how much music I've listened to. Okay, maybe I did. After the first ending, it doesn't get much better. Most are slow-paced and relaxing, which isn't terrible, they just don't slap. Overall, the development of the first season was pretty good. It didn't drag on and they didn't stay in the same place for a long time. I think they did a decent job at introducing new characters, except for the fact that everybody's names are so fucking weird. I could not for the life of me remember anyone's name until about the last episode. And I'm just gonna go ahead and say Bon and Hawk are my favorite characters without a doubt. I think Bon is probably one of the most interesting characters out of the 7, mainly because he's got an actual reason and drive behind what he's doing. Meliodas and everyone else just kind of do it for f***s and giggles, and sure, Meliodas finds more reasons after the first season, but dude did it because he was horny, let's be honest. Especially off of Meliodas' introduction, I was not a huge fan of his character. Don't get me wrong, I think he's enjoyable to watch, but not so much a respectable character. And I mean, Hawk is just built different. Literally a talking pig who's funny and a Chad. What more could you possibly ask for in a character? Deanne isn't terrible, but she's just kind of there in the first season. I didn't really pay too much attention to her, and pretty much same with Gother and Merlin. And Elizabeth, don't even get me started. I get she started this whole thing, but the only important thing she does is literally at the finale. A character that definitely grew on me was King. He seemed like an ass and sort of was for helping the Holy Knights at first, but he kind of had a good reason for it since Bond didn't really tell him anything, which was kind of a move. Gil Thunder was a major asshole at the start. He definitely got better at the end and grew on me, but that doesn't really change what he had done throughout. I think the only real thing I struggle with in this anime is power level. At some points you'll see Meliodas and Bond duel, and they go all out, and there's some points Meliodas is fighting other enemies, he sort of just pulls his punches for no reason. In no reality should the group have lost against the Holy Knights in episodes 12 and 13. I don't care if they had the Goddess Hammer, which enclosed Meliodas, taking away the 7th strongest asset. I don't care that the group had fought each other moments before in the Fighting Festival. At no point should they have even come close to losing against them, even if Gila and Jericho were New Generation. It's just annoying to watch because you know they're way more powerful than they were in that fight. The only other thing I will say about the writing is that I was not very emotionally attached to any of the characters, especially with Elizabeth's sister Veronica or Gila's dad that Gother was accompanying. They were just side characters and didn't have much effect on me. The only death that got to me was Hawks. Seeing Bond scream for his master wake up was pretty sad. Overall, I don't think the pacing was necessarily bad. There were definitely some things they could have worked on, especially with the final fight. It did seem to drag on for a bit longer than I would have wanted. The animation of the anime was alright, but it definitely was nowhere near it could have been. It's nowhere near the worst I've ever seen. I'm talking about you, School Days. Oh, God, you still give me nightmares. Anyways, the animation definitely isn't polished. Sometimes there's some frames that just seem out of place or completely missing. For example, in episodes 17 and 18, there's multiple scenes where Deanne's injuries aren't apparent, and Gother's body just straight up disappears after his and Dreyfus' duel. What's even worse is this isn't even bad compared to what the animation studio did in their recent years. I think what made me have such low expectations is pulling up the show and seeing this goofy animation.
What the? What the?
I mean, in no world can anyone argue this is even close to a step up. This is a whole skyscraper down from where they were. My final score for the first season of The 7 Deadly Sins comes out to an 8 out of 10. There are some things that weren't amazing, but I found it fairly enjoyable, especially because my expectations were quite low. Moving on to the second season. Firstly, the opening was pretty good, but definitely wasn't as good as the first two. I like the opening animation though, all of the characters look really good in suits, and the ending song was probably my least favorite so far. This season definitely seemed to pick up on a weird spot. I was a little thrown off as to where we were timeline-wise. I'm not gonna lie, I definitely think this would have been better just as a movie, because a lot of it just seemed to be filler. All it really did was set up Season 3, which it didn't even do much of a great job at that. Really, the only monumental things that were included in the season were Meliodas versus Bond, again, for what, the third or fourth time now? I honestly can't even keep track. Anyways, it was fun to see Gil Thunder get so excited to see them fight that he began to cry. Bond and Meliodas have to be one of my favorite duos other than Bond and Hawk. What else happened? Oh yeah, the king had a trippy nightmare. Like, bro, if you're on some shrooms, share with the rest of us.
Give me that.
What?
Give me that.
Gotta shout out my boy King. Thoughts and prayers. My man went and confessed to Deanne and goes and forgets after she'd kissed him. Oh yeah, somehow Hendrickson is alive and Dreyfus played everyone? Who could have thought?
Actually, I did.
Oh!
Get out of here, nerd.
Technically, I can't get out of here.
Anyways, it really didn't take a genius to realize they were working together, especially after seeing Dreyfus turn up on episode 1 after he kindly asks a quiet, happy family to leave. Yeah, they're just f***ing dead. For the second season of The 7 Deadly Sins, I give it a 7 out of 10 personally. I didn't get very hyped when I saw Dreyfus was evil all along. The plot twist and reveal just was not that exciting, and I think there could have been better ways to go about that. Overall, it wasn't very much of a memorable or eventful season. All it did was try to set up Season 3, and honestly, it's a shame that it's counted as a season, when it's literally just 4 episodes of basically filler. The 7 Deadly Sins has been pretty enjoyable so far, and I can definitely see why people have, or did, enjoy it. I'm talking about you. Yeah, I think people are slightly hard on this anime. I've seen so many people shit on it, but the most memorable roast I've seen for it is the 7 Deadly slideshow. It really hasn't been terrible so far, but oh boy, I am not excited for what's to come. My rating for the second season comes out to a 7 out of 10, thus bringing the median score of the 2 seasons I've watched of the 7 Deadly Sins to a 7.5 out of 10. Lessening the memes and getting a bit more serious, we now move on to Violet Evergarden. Of course, I did want to include the movies, but for the sake of shortening this review a bit, I'll just be reviewing the 13 episode series. The animation for this anime is absolutely wonderful. Possibly one of the best animations I've seen in any anime. It's simply stunning. I absolutely love it. It's very fluid, the lighting and shading of the colors are vibrant and beautiful. It's just so captivating. Character designs are wonderful and unique. You can just tell there was so much time and thought put into the creation of this anime. Anyways, it's so beautifully written, and for a drama anime, it's still so wonderfully done and isn't slow like I thought it might be. I have to say, I definitely did not have any idea of what this anime was going to be about. Of course, I'd heard amazing things about it, I just didn't know what it was really about. Even after realizing it was a drama anime, which I don't watch very often, it has exceeded every expectation I had, and I can see why so many people love it. This anime excels in so many categories, it'd be a crime not to mention the soundtrack. Evan Call did an amazing job at composing the music for this anime. It's serene, and every song and piece of music fits so well in every scene. It works so well with the setting of the anime, it's hard to describe. All I can say is it just encapsulates the atmosphere of this anime so well. This anime did so well at getting me emotionally attached literally within the first episode. I teared up way too many times, not just because of the writing, but because of the music. I can say few anime have done that where it can make me teary-eyed off of the soundtrack alone, and Violet Evergarden accomplished that mission. Get it? Because of the... Never mind. The opening and ending of the anime isn't exactly my cup of tea, but they fit perfectly for the tone and setting, and even though they're not my favorite songs, the animations are still wonderfully done and enjoyable to watch. I do want to address one thing that makes me a little uncomfy. So, you're just gonna tell me Major Gilbert, who is 29 by the way, told Violet, who is supposedly 14, that he loves her?
That's rough, but...
It's just not right. It feels wrong on a lot of levels. That's all I wanted to say. Moving on, Violet's development is beautiful throughout the series. She turns into Edward Elric. I'm sorry, I feel like I would have missed out on an absolute banger joke there. Anyway, an orphan who was turned into a weapon of war, one that's never known love, one that only took orders and didn't think for herself, she's introduced as this monster without a heart, but it's because she'd never been allowed to have one. She'd never been given the chance to have a normal life. She was forced into violence, that's all she'd ever known. She didn't have an understanding of emotions or what people were trying to convey when they said something. It was really nice to see her development and understanding of what love and happiness meant in her own way. When she's first introduced, she doesn't emote or dramatize, never smiling, basically unsympathetic and insensitive. I had the biggest smile on my face the first time she had genuinely smiled. Then seeing her finally be able to come to terms with what she'd done in the past and grieve was really heartbreaking. The introduction of new characters and episodes were so well thought out and written so well. Not only would each episode further Violet's development, but the character that was introduced. She was able to understand herself better and her emotions while also having a positive effect on others, allowing those characters to develop and better themselves through meeting and spending time with her, whether they were indifferent towards an idea or ideal or struggling with something in their past or present. Meeting Violet had an effect that allowed these people to come to terms with themselves. Every character was written so well, not overly exaggerated, they just felt so real. I think the fact that each character felt so unique, each with their own challenges and problems, really allowed me to connect and feel for them. Even if I wasn't going through the exact same situation, their feelings and emotions were something I could relate to, and I think that's why this anime reached so many people. Thus, bringing me to my final score of a 9.5 out of 10 for Violet Evergarden, an actual masterpiece.